Hello, geometry. Today we're going to do section 2.6, which is on the vertical angles theorem. We are also going to add to that, so let's just write it up here. We are also going to add to that the linear pair, that's a P, pair postulate. So as a warm-up, I want you to pick just one of these two systems of equations to solve. The first one is easier, the second one's more of a medium level. So pause and do that. Okay, welcome back. So checking your answer here. If you did number 1, your answer should be 2, 1. If you did number 2, your answer should be 0, -3. If you had trouble with either one of those, we can do that in class. So first, we have the vertical angles theorem. Now this word theorem is probably new. Really, it's just a logic word that means that you should prove it to be true before you use that. Now, we're not going to do any proofs this year in this class. We normally do, but we just don't have time. So whether you use the word theorem or whether you use the word postulate, which we'll get to in a second, it doesn't actually matter for us. So vertical angles theorem says that vertical angles are congruent. Remember, congruent means their measures are equal. We did this last chapter, but we never gave a name to it. So it's called the vertical angles theorem. That says that this angle 1 here in this picture would be congruent to angle 3. Or in other words, the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3, is another way to say that. Okay, next to that, we're going to write out the linear pair postulate. So in that same picture, we do have a couple of sets of linear pairs. Angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. Angle 2 and angle 3 are also a linear pair. The word postulate, all that means in logic is it's a statement that you assume to be true or that it's very obvious that it's true. So in this case, the linear pair postulate says, and we use this last chapter too, that these two angles, a linear pair, form a straight angle, and therefore their measures add up to 180. So what you can say is the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is 180. Or you can do the other two angles named here. Measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 3 equals 180 as well. So that is the linear pair postulate, and this is that vertical angles are congruent, or in other words, their measures are equal. Okay, a couple of warm-up problems here as well. So 1 and 2 are problems we definitely did last chapter. So again, I'm going to give you a minute to pause and try 1 and 2. Okay, good. Welcome back. So using the vertical angles theorem, like we did last chapter, we would know these two angles here would be congruent to each other. But then to figure out angles z and x, we can use the linear pair postulate, which would state that 76, we'll just use x this time, plus x is equal to 180. So therefore, x is equal to 104. Okay, so x is 104, y is 76. Z, again, those are vertical angles with x, so that would also be 104 degrees. Okay, on number 2, there's a couple of different places you can start this. One thing I'm noticing is there's a right angle, so therefore this would also be a right angle. So that would be one place to start. Okay, those add up to 90. And then subtract 47, and what do you get? 43 degrees. Okay, so y would be 43 degrees. That would go here. All right, and then to figure out x, we have a linear pair. So 47 and x. So 47 plus x are a linear pair, and therefore add up to 180. So therefore x is equal to, you do 180 minus the 47, so 133 degrees. Again, you can use a calculator to help you. Okay, 3 and 4 are a little bit harder. So on number 3 here, you'll notice that we have an algebra problem with the 2x, but we're going to go through the same process. So we are going to set up a vertical angles equation because I know 2x would be the same as 76. Divide by 2 on both sides. And that's not going to be 76, obviously. You can use a calculator, but that is going to be 38. Okay. On the second one, so here the y, again, is a linear pair with 76. You could do it with the 2x, but then you'd have two variables. So I would recommend doing it with the 76, but you have y plus 76 equals 180. Subtract the 76. We actually did this subtraction right above here, and you get 104. Again, you can always plug into the picture and make sure that makes sense, but this would be 104. And then 2 times x would be the 76. Okay, using this same type of logic, now we're going to do number 4 together, which is much harder. Okay, so let me scroll down a little. Okay, we're still going to do our vertical angles first, and I'm actually going to label them this time. And you can use the angle symbol, but my vertical angles equation here is going to be 2x is equal to y minus x. Again, these are vertical angles across from each other in the x, so they are equal measures. So I set up 2x equals y minus x. Well, right away, you're probably noticing that there are two variables in this equation, so I can't solve this equation as is. That indicates that you need another equation. So again, in this type of picture, we also can do a linear pair equation. So my linear pair equation, I have two choices. I can either do 2x with the y plus x, or I can do y plus x and the y plus, or in the y minus x. It doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm just going to choose the 2x plus y plus x equals 180. Okay, notice that that also has two variables in it, but that's fine because when we have two equations and two variables, this becomes a system of equations that we can solve with substitution or elimination. So my first step, there's like x's and y's everywhere and it's not in any good form. So you want to start by simplifying. Okay, and on this one, I'm going to do substitution. It doesn't matter which one you do, I just randomly picked substitution. So on the first equation, I'm going to get y by itself. So if I add x to both sides, I will end up with 3x is equal to y. Then what I can do is take this 3x and plug it in for y in the other equation. Okay, so I'm going to substitute. Okay, so I'm going to substitute 3x in place of y, and I will get 2x plus 3x plus x equals 180. So these add up, combine like terms. You get 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 more is 6x. And then you're going to divide by 6. So you can use a calculator, but that is going to be 30. Okay, again, last step. You're going to take this x and plug it in to figure out y. But y is going to be 30 times 3 right here. So that's going to be 90. Very last thing you should always check is to make sure that these two guys work in the picture. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 30 here for x, and I get 60. This thing always just freaks out for no reason. Okay, so here I get 60 degrees, And then if I plug in the y and the x here, I will get 90 minus 30, which is also 60, which is good because those should match. Okay, up here, if I do a linear pair, this angle should be 120, so they add up to 180. But if I plug in, I get 90 plus the 30, which is 120, which also checks out. So always check out that your answers match in the picture. Okay, good job, and we'll see you next time.